I always thought betrayal was something that happened to other men, the weak ones, the ones who didn't pay attention, the ones who let their wives slip away while they buried themselves in work or distractions. I wasn't that kind of man. I was careful, I was devoted, and yet, in the end, none of it mattered. Her name was Melissa. When we first met, she was everything I thought I wanted: smart, beautiful, a woman who could turn heads without trying. She had that effortless charm that made people want to be around her, and for a while I thought I was the luckiest man alive. We built a life together, a home filled with laughter and shared dreams, or at least that's what I thought. The signs were there, of course. The late nights at work that didn't add up, the way she started guarding her phone like it held state secrets, the sudden interest in dressing up for girls' nights she never used to care about. I ignored it. Love makes a fool out of you like that. Then came the confession. Not from her, she didn't have the guts. It was a friend of a friend who let it slip at a party, someone drunk enough to think I already knew. The baby, the affair, the lies. I confronted her that night. Her face went pale when I said his name. Nick, some nobody from her office, a guy I never even considered a threat. At first she denied it. Then when she saw there was no way out, she crumbled. Tears, shaking hands, pathetic apologies. It was a mistake. It didn't mean anything. I love you, please. All the usual bulls. I didn't care about the words. I cared about the fact that she had already made her choice. She slept with him. She got pregnant. And for months she planned to let me raise his child as my own. I walked away that night and never looked back. The divorce was fast, brutal. She fought for alimony, but the court wasn't on her side. She had her lover. She could go to him. I cut all ties, erased her from my life. That was 15 years ago. And then, just when I thought I had left it all behind, my past came knocking on my door. I met Melissa in a way that was so ordinary it felt impossible that she would one day be the cause of my downfall. There was no grand love story, no whirlwind romance. We met at a small cafe near my office, one of those places with cheap coffee and cracked leather booths. She was the friend of a coworker sitting across from me at a group lunch. She wasn't the most stunning woman in the room. She wasn't some seductive goddess who bewitched me with a glance. She was normal, shoulder-length brown hair, a little plain, a little round in the face, but she had this energy to her. She could talk. She had opinions. She laughed loudly, maybe too loudly, but it felt genuine. She wasn't like those women who played coy or tried too hard to impress. She was just there, comfortable in her own skin. And I liked that. I was a straight-laced guy, always had been. I grew up in a house where my father worked himself to the bone and my mother held the family together with iron discipline. Hard work, loyalty, honesty, those were the rules I lived by. When I dated Melissa, I saw someone I could build a life with. She wasn't a dreamer, she wasn't chasing a fantasy. She wanted a house, a steady income, a simple life. I thought I had found someone who shared my values. We got married in a modest ceremony. No extravagant weddings, no ridiculous expenses. We saved up for a house, a small but decent place in the suburbs. I worked long hours at my job, finance, numbers, structure. Melissa worked in an office too, nothing glamorous, just filing reports and making calls. We were a regular couple in a regular life. Then came our son, Nathan. The day he was born, I thought I had everything I'd ever wanted. I held him in my arms and nothing else in the world mattered. I worked harder, determined to give him a better life than I had growing up. I put in extra hours, took promotions that demanded more of my time, thinking, this is for them, for my wife, for my son. Melissa changed after Nathan, or maybe she was always that way and I was too blind to see it. She started complaining more, about my hours, about how tired she was, about how she was the one stuck at home while I was out living my life. I reminded her that she wanted this. We had agreed she'd take some time off work to raise Nathan before going back. But that wasn't enough. Nothing ever was. The fights started small, then they got worse. Melissa became someone I didn't recognize, snapping over nothing, rolling her eyes when I kissed her, pulling away when I tried to touch her. I chalked it up to stress, told myself it was just a phase. One night I came home late. I had worked a 14-hour day. My body felt like it had been wrung dry, but I was happy because I had just closed a deal that would mean more money, a better future. I opened the door, expecting to see my son asleep, my wife waiting. Instead, I saw her and Nick. The moment I stepped inside, I knew. The air was thick with something ugly. Melissa was sitting on the couch, wrapped in a robe, and Nick, some piece of sea keys from her office, was standing too close. Too damn close. And then I saw it. His shirt was unbuttoned. I didn't even think. I lunged. Nick barely had time to react before my fist cracked against his jaw. He staggered, knocking over a lamp, and Melissa shrieked, "Stop! Stop it!" But I didn't stop. Not until I had him on the floor, my hands wrapped around his throat. I wanted to kill him. I might have. But then Nathan cried from his room, and suddenly the fight drained out of me. I let Nick go, stood up, and looked at Melissa. She had this look on her face. Anger, yes, but also something else. Relief, like she had wanted to get caught. "Get out," I told Nick. He scrambled to his feet and ran like the coward he was. I turned to Melissa. "How long?" She didn't answer. I stepped closer. "How long?" She swallowed. "A few months." A few months, while I was working myself to the bone, while I was coming home exhausted but still kissing her goodnight, while I was saving up for our future, she was sneaking around with him. And then she said the words that shattered everything. "I'm pregnant." The room went silent. I stared at her. It wasn't mine. She didn't have to say it. I knew. I walked out that night. I took nothing with me. The divorce was hell. She fought for everything, tried to take the house, tried to take Nathan. The court saw through her, but not before she dragged me through the mud, painted me as an abusive husband, a workaholic who neglected his family. She had Nick by her side, smirking through it all. In the end, she got nothing but the child that wasn't mine. I got my freedom. I got Nathan. I left her behind, left her to rot in the mess she made. For 15 years, I never looked back. And then, 15 years later, a knock on my door shattered the past wide open. 15 years had passed since I walked out of that house, leaving Melissa to deal with the wreckage she created. 15 years since I took my son and built a life that had nothing to do with her. I had pushed the memories of her as far away as possible, buried them deep under work, fatherhood, and time. But standing at my door was a girl who looked no older than 18, her arms crossed, her face twisted in something between arrogance and desperation. "You owe me college money," she said, like it was a fact, like I was just supposed to nod and open my wallet. I barely heard her, because I was staring at her face. The resemblance wasn't perfect, but there was just enough of Melissa in her eyes, in the way she stood, like the whole world owed her something. "No way, what nonsense, who told you that?" She didn't answer, not immediately. She just stared at me like she was trying to figure out if I was lying or if I was just as heartless as she'd been told. Then, without another word, she turned on her heel and walked away. I should have let her go. I should have shut the door, forgotten about it. But 20 minutes later, she came back with a wheelchair. And in that wheelchair, looking far older than she should have, her body thin, her hands trembling, was Melissa. I felt my stomach turn. The girl spoke first, her voice sharp and accusing. "This is my mom. She lost her memory years ago, but she always told me one thing: you're my father." I almost laughed. Melissa was lying to the very end. But then I looked at her, really looked at her. She was staring at me like she didn't even recognize me. Her face was hollowed out, wrinkles making her look decades older than she was. Her hair, once neat and well-kept, was a tangled mess. The sharp, defiant woman who once fought me in court, who had sneered at me beside her lover, she was gone. Something had destroyed her, and I had no idea what, but I was going to find out. I stepped back, motioning them inside. "Wait here." I went straight to my office, pulled out a DNA test I kept for emergencies, one of those quick result kits. I swabbed the girl's mouth before she could argue, packed it up, and made a call. Then, as I stood by the window, watching the girl awkwardly try to comfort the husk of the woman who ruined my life, I said coldly, "I don't trust a word Melissa ever said, so until I get proof, you're just some stranger at my door." The girl's jaw tightened. She looked like she wanted to scream at me. Instead, she just whispered, "You'll see." But what I didn't expect, what I couldn't expect, was that the truth was about to be far worse than I imagined. I sat across from the girl, arms crossed, studying her. She was nervous, but there was something else too: determination. She didn't look like someone who came here on a whim. She came here for something, and she wasn't leaving without it. Melissa sat in the wheelchair beside her, staring at the coffee table like she wasn't even in the room. A ghost of the woman I once knew. It was unsettling seeing her like this. The woman who had destroyed my life, humiliated me, betrayed me so completely, now sitting in front of me, broken, empty. I wanted to feel satisfaction. I wanted to revel in the karma that had finally caught up with her. But something about it felt off. The girl, on the other hand, was sharp, too sharp. She drummed her fingers against the armrest of the chair before finally saying, "She always said you were my father." "She lied," I said without hesitation, "and you're old enough to know that by now." The girl inhaled through her nose, as if forcing herself to stay calm. Then she leaned forward, her voice low. "She told me that even when she forgot everything else, when she forgot her own name, when she forgot where we lived, when she forgot what year it was, she never forgot you." My stomach twisted. Melissa had lost her mind. That much was clear. But why would I be the one thing she held on to? I glanced at her again. She wasn't even listening. She was staring at the floor, mumbling something under her breath. I couldn't make it out, but the sound of it sent a cold shiver up my spine. I clenched my jaw. That's not my problem. Whatever mess she made after I left, it's not my responsibility. The girl didn't even blink. Number. But you should know what happened to her. I shouldn't have cared. I should have just thrown them both out and gone on with my life. But something about her tone, it didn't sound like a plea. It sounded like a warning. "Fine," I said slowly. "Talk." The girl sat back, eyes flicking toward Melissa, then back at me. And when she spoke, the words changed everything. "Nick ruined her life." Nick. That name hit me like a punch to the gut. I hadn't thought about him in years, hadn't even cared to wonder what happened to him. I assumed they stayed together. I assumed wrong. The girl continued, her voice bitter. "He left her a year after you did, as soon as I was born." I raised an eyebrow. Sounds like karma to me. She shot me a glare but didn't argue. She thought he loved her, but the second he realized she was tied down with a baby, he walked out. He took everything, the house, the money, her job. He set her up to take the fall for something at work, and she got fired. She was drowning in debt before I could even walk. I exhaled slowly. So Nick had done to her exactly what she had tried to do to me. "She got worse after that," the girl muttered. "Started drinking, a lot. I barely remember a time when she wasn't angry, wasn't blaming everyone else for what happened, but mostly she blamed you." I snorted. "Of course she did." "She said you cursed her." That made me pause. "What?" The girl tilted her head. "She said you destroyed her life, that you made sure she'd never be happy again, that you were waiting for her to suffer." My hands curled into fists. I had done nothing. I left. I moved on. But the idea that she spent 15 years convincing herself that I was lurking in the shadows, pulling the strings of her downfall, it was insane. And yet, I looked at her again, at her empty eyes, her shaking hands, the way she whispered things to herself, things no one else could hear. Had she really convinced herself of that? Had she really believed all these years that I was some kind of monster haunting her from a distance? The girl exhaled, rubbing her temples. 3 years ago, she started losing her memory. At first it was little things, where she left her keys, what day it was, but then she forgot my birthday, then my name, then she forgot she even had a daughter. The doctors said it was early onset dementia, but it was like she hesitated. Like she wasn't just sick, like something was eating her alive. Something dark crawled up my spine. Then one night, she continued, she looked me dead in the eyes and said, "He's still watching. He's still waiting for me to pay." A thick silence settled over the room. For the first time, I felt uneasy. I forced myself to scoff. So what? She went crazy and decided to blame me? The girl's face was unreadable. Then, very slowly, she reached into her bag and pulled out a thick envelope. This was the last thing she wrote before she lost her mind completely. I stared at it, my throat tightening, and then Melissa made a sound, a low, strangled whisper. I turned to her, barely able to hear it, but when I did, my blood ran cold, because she wasn't whispering nonsense. She was whispering my name. The moment I heard my name leave Melissa's lips, a chill slithered down my spine. It wasn't just the sound of it, it was how she said it, like a prayer, like a curse. I turned to face her fully, gripping the armrest of my chair. "What did you just say?" She didn't react, just kept whispering under her breath. I leaned in, too close, and that's when I finally made out the words. "He never left. He's still watching. He's still waiting." The girl stiffened beside her like she'd heard it before. I forced myself to scoff, even as something inside me twisted. "You expect me to believe this? That she lost her mind because of me?" The girl just sighed and slid the envelope across the table. "Just read it." I hesitated. Everything in me screamed, "Don't open it." But I did. Inside was a stack of old yellowed pages. Melissa's handwriting was shaky, erratic, like she had written them while barely holding on to reality. And as I read, the world tilted. "He's always there, in the corner of my eye. I see his shadow in the doorway, watching, waiting. Even when I close my eyes, I feel him. He's smiling, he's patient. He doesn't need to touch me to hurt me. I can't breathe, I can't sleep, I can't think. Every time I hear his name, I feel my stomach turn inside out. I see his face in my dreams. I wake up choking on nothing, gasping, clawing at the sheets, but he's not there. He's never there. But I know. He cursed me. He didn't just leave. He took something from me, something I can never get back. He didn't have to lay a hand on me. His silence, his absence, it was the sharpest knife. Nick left me. The money disappeared. My body started wasting away. And still he watched. Still he waited. I hear him laughing in the dark, whispering that this is what I deserve. He won. I thought I destroyed him, but I only made him stronger. I thought I could ruin him, but I only ruined myself. I don't remember who I am anymore. I don't remember where I am. I don't remember my daughter's face. But I remember him. I will always remember him. I set the papers down, my fingers stiff and cold. I had done nothing to her, nothing. And yet somehow I had destroyed her more completely than if I had set fire to her life myself. The girl studied my expression carefully. "You see now." I inhaled sharply. "See what?" She exhaled, shaking her head. "She spent 15 years haunted by you, by what she did to you. It ate her alive. And even when she forgot everything else, even when she forgot me, you were still there, still rotting in her mind." A long silence stretched between us. I should have felt triumphant. I should have felt like justice had been served. Instead, I just felt tired. I ran a hand down my face, exhaling slowly. "And what do you want from me? Money, closure." The girl hesitated. And then she did something that caught me completely off guard. She reached out, grabbed Melissa's frail hand and squeezed it. And when she looked up at me, her eyes weren't angry anymore. "She's dying," she murmured. "Doctors say she doesn't have long, and I don't know why, but she keeps saying your name, like she's waiting for something." Melissa stirred in the chair, blinking at me like she barely recognized me. Her lips trembled, And then, for the first time in 15 years, she spoke directly to me. I'm sorry. A lifetime too late. I stood up, heart pounding, staring down at the woman who had once torn me apart, the woman who had destroyed herself trying to destroy me, and I realized I didn't hate her anymore. I had won a war I never even fought. I didn't say a word, just stepped back, grabbed my coat, and walked to the door. Before I left, the girl called out to me one last time. Will you come see her before she goes? I didn't turn around. I just gripped the doorknob, opened it, and stepped outside. The night was cold, the air was sharp, and as I walked away from my past for the last time, I whispered a final quiet answer. No.